Greetings from Spain, Sweden, and UK. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Art and Science of DevOps Coaching, where we explore the world of lean, agile culture, digital transformation, DevOps coaching, and of course, culture. My name is Marian. I'm your host. As always, I'm committed to bringing you insights from seasoned experts like my guests today, who are game changers in the DevOps and agile domain. And for today, I have the pleasure to have you, Sophie, Alonso, and Sudip. And as far as we've had a previous discussion, you're very passionate practitioners and experts in the realm of DevOps and agile transformations. And with your extensive experience and deep insights, guys, we are here to share invaluable knowledge on, and that's the topic of today, unlocking the power of automated value delivery. So without further ado, I have the pleasure. Welcome to you, Alonso. You're our first guest. You're based in Stockholm, Sweden, and your roles are a product owner and a coach for DevOps teams at various companies, as well as a CTO role. And Alonso is an ambassador for various automation, containerization, virtualization initiatives in various areas of software, hardware, and infrastructure. And also an experienced practitioner in the realm of coaching and product management. Alonso, your impressive portfolio of projects includes various automating account creation, driving DevOps automation, and streamlining financial reporting for a large group based in Sweden. And we are very delighted to have you on board to shed light on the ever-evolving landscape of automation and DevOps. Again, a warm welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Next up on the list, a warm welcome to you, Sophie Breslin. You're based in Oxford, right? United Kingdom. All right. So Sophie is an automation engineer, a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt practitioner, and a certified coach, acting as the owner of Authensis Limited, a company dedicated to bridge the gap between production, lean, and automation. With more than 3 decades of industry experience, including 15 years as an independent consultant, Sophie brings valuable insights to the table. You're known as the Flow Lady, Sophie, among friends and colleagues. And you told me you're very passionate about identifying blockages in complex systems, addressing root causes, proposing solutions and workarounds. And one of your latest venture extends to coaching women in engineering and manufacturing, and aiming to empower these professionals to navigate their careers and achieve a state of optimal flow. Welcome again.
Thanks, Marian.
And finally, please join me in welcoming you, Sudip. You're joining us out of London, United Kingdom. And Sudip is an independent agile coach, automation and shared services consultant at Divite Limited, focused at delivering enterprise coaching and intelligent automation implementation using emerging technologies at scale. Sudip, you bring over 2 decades of experience in navigated complex environments and business landscape, and also scaling organization. And you've been specialized in delivering niche consulting services, setting up automation centers of excellence, governance, and managing internationally diverse delivery teams around large-scale automation and transformation, both in the public sector and in the private sector. Warm welcome. All right. Well, thank you, three, for joining us today. I am very thrilled to welcome such a distinguished panel of experts, and I'm certain that our audience shares my enthusiasm to delve into your valuable insights of unleashing the potential of automated value delivery. Now that we've introduced you, let's set the stage for your stories today. We want to embark on a journey to unlock the power of automated value delivery, focused on coaching of high-performing teams. And our conversation will be structured around 3 crucial subtopics to cover the main one. And each subtopic delves deep into an aspect of automation and its influence in our digital world. So, impact of automation delivery for higher value and better quality, driving a lean and agile automation culture in a team, and implementation of end-to-end fully automated processes via continuous integration, continuous delivery, and cloud. For our audience, for our viewers and participants, I strongly encourage you to ask your questions and comments via the chat available on your right-hand side. We will make sure we answer as many questions as possible. Also, feel free to ask us any definitions, abbreviations, clarifications required for the terms and vocabulary we use in our talk. And last but not least, very important for us, we believe in the power of feedback. By the end of the session, you'll see a short survey via a link for you to provide feedback. We really value your feedback in shaping future events, improving the overall experience, getting better over time. So we strongly encourage you to take a few moments to complete it. All right, so much about setting the scene. Let's get started. Let's start reveal and discover the topic. And Sophie, I would like to start with you. How do you personally interpret the background and the importance of automation? And what about its shades and types?
Thanks, Marian. So I would like to start with a little bit of history, actually, about automation and where DevOps fits into that timeline, if I may. So my shades of automation is mechanical automation. So it's systems and mechanics together. And I specialize in any environment where you're making or moving something. So that's manufacturing or distribution centers. And my role is to ensure that the physical systems and the IT systems work together efficiently. So where does the automation start? Where does IT take over? So automated warehousing started in the 1960s when DMAG, who I used to actually work for back in the 90s, developed its first automated storage and retrieval systems. And that laid down the foundations for the warehouse management systems that we see today. So this connects into the software element for DevOps. Then we've got lean manufacturing, which shares its roots with DevOps, I understand. And that started in the late 1980s when a quality engineer, Jack Kravick, first coined the term lean manufacturing when he was working on a joint venture between Toyota and General Motors in California. And so then the lean manufacturing led into then Lean Six Sigma, which emerged in the late 1990s, when US manufacturers attempted to compete with Japan's better made products. And so then DevOps, I think that you also have been known as Lean IT, is that right?
Absolutely.
Yep. So that emerged relatively recently then in 2009, I think is the first sort of sign that I can see of it. And it's based on the principles of Lean, which includes things like specifying the value stream from the customer perspective and also identifying all of the value steps in the value stream and removing the ones that don't create or add value. So I think in terms of this discussion today, I'm a bit of an imposter when it comes to the DevOps conversation, but it all stems from the same roots. So my shade of automation is like yours, stripping out the waste and allowing the parts of processes that can be automated to be automated so that we're leaving the people to do the value add work. So I think that there's a lot of transferable learning from my domain into the DevOps domains. And for me, the importance of the automation is for business scalability. If you want to preserve or increase production or service quality and control costs. But for my type of automation, you can really only do that in environments that are predictive. So we don't want to be automating anything which has got a lot of variation in it. And it's, for eliminating the waste and improving productivity. So I think that's the same for you guys in DevOps, right? Yeah.
It is indeed. And then, Sophie, I think your point of view is very valuable to broaden the perspective and discover lessons learned from your automation experience that's transferable to the world of DevOps and IT. And Alonso, let's take the challenge offered by Sophie and also ask you to, what is your personal perspective on what automation means to you in the context of delivering higher value in quality, specifically in IT and DevOps?
Sorry. Yeah, I think that, so I come from a current work area where we support the organization to automatically deploy the operations part. So if you look at the telecom aspect of it, it's the non-traffic part, the operations. So when it comes to bringing value to what we deliver, it has to do and focus more on that. Previous with automation, you did basically the installation, and I work with a lot of virtual machines installations, and nowadays you also do the configuration, and by combining the installation and configuration, you get a quite solid deliverable in the sense that you can reproduce it, and you do it kind of exactly the same. And when you need to tune things, you're tuning it and you're deploying it. Even if you have some sub problems in your environment, you can redeploy that sub part. So I think the key values that the stakeholders get of what we are building in terms of automation is the quality of stability in one way. That when you have done these installation and configurations previously manually, you kind of forget exactly how you tune, how you configure things, and then when it's time to troubleshoot it, it's quite hard to find the problems. So by introducing a high percentage of automation, even if you would get some problems, it's much easier to find them and isolate them and fix them, basically. And I also think that having a high level of automation makes that you can reduce your team in a way. Or if you keep the same amount of team, you can free up time to do other things also. So yeah, that's what I'm an ambassador for automation in a sense. Because if you do it the right way, you have a lot of things to win. But it's also, I think, a situation that sometimes you use automation as a buzzword, and you mentioned that in your industry, but you haven't reached that far or have a high level of automation. So I kind of encourage the industry to focus on keep increasing the automation percentage, so you have solid deliverables.
Right. Well, you've heard it. The key message is there. Strongly encouraged by our automation ambassador, Alonso. And in a few minutes, we'll also deep dive into the how, right, Alonso? But first, let us give the word to you, Sudip. I would like to first ask you about your personal take on the significance of automation, but also let's step it up for you. Could you give us some insight on the big trend of generative AI in the context of automating processes as well, please?
Sure, Marian, and thank you for inviting me. I think automation in my context is slightly different, or probably very different to Sophie's context, and it was quite interesting to know that part of the automating world as well. I am not from the nuts and bolts automation that Sophie is from, so I'm more from the software automation, or what we called, it started off as robotics process automation, and then it went into hyper automation, intelligent automation, all of that, and the industry has kind of grown and matured over the last 10 years. And I have been involved in that industry from the early days, having set up a number of centers of excellence for automation, including some of the largest banks here. Now, automation is pretty much pervasive in the industry. And when we are talking about automation, we're talking about business process automation. And you're basically talking about, say for instance, if you take a use case, you have an invoice coming in. There is an automation that can actually literally extract that invoice from the email. It will read that invoice. It will extract the numbers. It will post those numbers into the ERP, whether it's SAP or Oracle or whatever, and process that invoice, and can actually go as far as paying you the money. Now, that's the breadth of the automation and the process automation that I have seen and I've been involved in. And you can go into any level of complexity within that automation. There was, you can have automation use cases where we are doing the full KYC in a bank. I mean, the entire KYC is being done by intelligent automation. There was a thinking at a point in time when we were saying that, okay, you can actually have intelligent automation build a layer on top of the current ERP, so that you can push back the cost of changing your ERP and bringing it to the modern version for a number of years by using intelligent automation as a layer on top of it, and that can really substitute your workflows. And there has been lots of use cases that was built around it. What has happened recently, and as we all know, since the time ChatGPT came into this, and it kind of everybody started talking about Gen AI. And when I recently visited some of the automation conferences, it was all about AI and how do we use Gen AI and what it means for the automation industry. Now, if you really break it down, in my view, you have got the supply side of the automation. So there is something that needs to be input, and there is the output of the automation processes, and that is where you have got Gen AI, which can effectively change the way the supply side of the automation can work, because it can today you can actually start using generative AI to kind of get the automation to follow and follow content like text, like voice, like pictures, all of that. So those were not possible maybe even a year back. So today you can, one can really think of having a citizen developer. One can really think of having low code development in the real sense, where you can start building business process automation with the help of Gen AI, where the input are not code but real life examples, like, as I said, text, your voice, your pictures. This hugely this saves the human time and effort. The second thing is that customization. The models can be fine-tuned for very specific domain use cases to generate customized output. Now that is again, for an example, in a use case where you probably needed to create some sort of a report. Now today that report becomes really easy to create using generative AI. You don't need to code that, okay, my report needs to look like this, and this is where I need the dials, this is where I need the graphs. You can actually converse with the software and get that done. Now that changes it considerably. The other thing is scalability, massively. I mean, we can now scale automation with the help of generative AI beyond what was possible earlier. And obviously, as and when the cost is coming down, the cost is massively coming down with generative AI. So the whole thing will become much more cost effective, and automation as such, or intelligent automation as such, is going to become more and more accessible. I think that's my view. And obviously, we're going to go deeper into the conversation as we go through it today.
Right. Let's indeed do that. Thank you, Sudeep. So we've heard about the background and importance and significance, right, of automation. And thank you guys for setting the scene. Now I suggest we dive even deeper, impact of automation delivery for higher value and better quality. And Sophie, back to you. You're involved in automation engineering and also coaching. Now, how do you perceive the impact of automation on specifically production and distribution processes? And also what we mentioned before, both you and Sudeep, scalability, especially in terms of speed, flexibility, and scalability. What does that mean?
Okay, so for me, in my world, the automation needs to have been done well, because if it's not done well, then there isn't often a benefit. So done well, my shade of automation can bring increased speed. So in my world, I call it moving widgets or making widgets. So I think we're speaking the same language as DevOps, but you're speaking of something you can't necessarily see. Whereas for me, it's a box that's moving, or it's a item being made. So what you'll get from automation well done is increase in repeatability and quality compared to a human being doing it. And again, you can also increase the working hours in a day if a machine's doing the work, or a process is automated and machinery is carrying out the function instead of a person. So the benefits are in repeatability, speed, accuracy, quality. I do see often where people have tried to automate tasks with a lot of variation in, and that never works well. So traditional automation, in my shade of automation, it's only suitable for repeatable tasks. Listening to what Sudeep was saying about, I think you were talking about SIPOC there, Sudeep.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's SIPOC, COPIS, a Lean Six Sigma thing. In my shade of automation, if you haven't done the process work first, that's often when a design doesn't work well and you get an output that is not what you wanted. Garbage in, garbage out, I think we called it, Marian.
Absolutely, exactly.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
And so data mining from the shop floor is really important, engaging the team in the process improvement phase. So especially where a manual process meets the automation, so the interface part of it, that's always really important to get that right. Benefits as well, batch processing, so you can get more work done but in smaller batches, or you can play around with the line speeds and the optimal batch size that you want to process. But again, the sort of automation that I'm involved with is really quite rigid. So because it's machinery, once it's built and installed, then there's not a lot of flexibility in that. And also, unlike AI, it can't learn. It does the same thing over and over, according to the program that it's pre-programmed with, unless it goes into fault, and then it would, we don't know what the outcome is going to be. Depends what the fault is. So, yeah, I think from a distribution point of view and manufacturing point of view, it's definitely beneficial for businesses to be able to scale, and also touching on what Alonso was saying was about releasing people to do the more value add work, or the work where there's a lot of variation.
Right. Let's ask him. Thank you, Sophie, for this tangible example of automation, and also to some lessons, practices that are transferable to the IT and DevOps world. So Alonso, back to you. You work as a product owner, also as a coach of DevOps teams. Could you discuss specifically how automation has influenced IT delivery process, maybe even on a real world case? Sorry.
Yeah, so the automation as such has used like CI/CD pipelines in terms of doing a structured way of deploying, which normally includes the build
Hold on.
phase.
Sorry to interrupt you. Could you please define very briefly for our listeners? Maybe not all of them are familiar with CI/CD pipeline. So a very short definition, so we're on the same page, please.
Yeah, sure. A CI/CD pipeline is basically an automated way of covering what is normally part of DevOps. So you split the dev into development and operations. And the CI/CD pipeline, the purpose of it is that I call it that you can push code from everywhere, which means that the developer taking their laptop, doing some code, if you have that kind of pipeline, the easiest way, if you take that you're just making a web page, an index page, and you want to deploy that on a web server. So nowadays, how you would do that is that you build this pipeline, and the developer creates their code, their index page, and when they push this up to a repository, this pipeline starts, it reacts, and it do all the criteria so that that page is being published. So it's quite a sophisticated machinery, because it means that you can in real time change a web page. You press a button and then you're up live. And the reason I just took this web page is that it's easier to understand rather than to make the answer more complex.
Right. That's a great example.
Thank
you, Alonso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go on.
I think that I actually think that it's good that you asked, because it make me try to answer the questions that's also the original question.
Right. So the original question was, how do you think that automations has influenced the set highly automated delivery IT process on a real world case? So experience from.
Yes. So I think the automation as such is such a broad word. So that's why I was mentioning a little bit more the pipelines. And if you reverse the kind of answer more into looking into this pipeline, as I explained, you would see that the pipeline as such would support that we have a high level of automation, you could say. And in terms of the delivery process, the pipeline, the automation, and the DevOps methodology increases the. There is a name convention called time to reach market, and that's traditionally quite painful, because it takes quite a long time from the code that you produce to that you deploy it. And what automation has done is that it has affected the delivery processes and reduced them in time, and also make a quite clear split of duties. You have a development team, they do their part, and then you have a test team, they do their part, and a deployment team. And all of these three areas, you look at holistic and try to increase the automation. So you don't specifically say that the testing needs to be done by a human person. You question that and see, so can we automate the testing? And this pipeline that I mentioned, it has support to implement automation also within testing. Of course, you need to have a human surveillance of the flow. So if you get this speed in the deploy, it also means that if you make errors, for this web page that I was mentioned, you press the button and in 2 seconds, the page is up and running. If you have made mistakes on the page, it can also be that when you increase the speed, the errors that might come out will also be rapidly out there, you could say. So you have to seek for speed in deployment, but you can't reduce the quality, the correctness of the data, nor security.
Right. Thank you, Alonso. Yeah. You wanted to add something?
No, I think that's fine. Got just carried away
right.
with enthusiastic.
I see you're passionate about a topic. As you said, you're the automation ambassador here, so totally makes sense. All right. And now, again, a short break. I encourage our audience to ask their questions and also to let us know if there is a specific aspect of this broad topic, coaching for automation, that we should tackle. And we would move anyway with our next second subtopic. We've now set the scene, right? We understand the importance and impact and also the nuances, shades, and types of automation. And now we enter the role of a coach, right? We want to drive a lean and agile automation culture in a team. That's our next topic. And Sudip, the ball goes back to you. In your experience, what are the critical elements when an agile coach is involved in a large-scale automation implementation? And also, how do you ensure that teams adopt a culture of automation? What's your secret there?
Well, I mean, I think, so I've been an agile coach for a number of years, and coaching automation teams are no different to coaching, software development teams or even engineers. I've been involved with organizations where I've been an agile coach to automobile engineers. Nothing to do with software, really. Changing the organization culture to an agile culture. So whether it is an automation team or just a software development team or any project delivery team, the agile culture, in my view, comes from the top, and it needs to come from the top. So you can have a whole organization going in one direction, and if suddenly one department thinks that, oh, we're going to become agile, that doesn't work. At the same time, also making sure people understand that what agile actually means. This may sound very funny. There has been cases where I've taken over a new team, and on the first day when I asked the question, what are you going to deliver at the end of the sprint? And I was told, oh, we are agile. We don't really deliver anything. So that's right. So you got to make those changes in the mindset that no, actually, agile doesn't mean you don't deliver anything. You have to deliver.
You have to deliver with agile, right? This is what I learned in my trainings.
Well, exactly, and that's the. I mean, these are the kind of things that you come across as a coach, and you got to change the mindset. But then it goes back to the fact that it has to start from the beginning, and it has to start from the top. The agile mindset has to be there. The other thing, and I'll quickly harp upon it. The change, especially in the software development cycle, where automation has played a big role, is in governance. This has really brought in the interdependence of automation development with the rest of the change management within the enterprise. So, and it's extremely important here because automation is normally driven by the business, whereas the rest of the change management or IT change management is driven by IT. And if they don't talk to each other, and if they don't compromise and come to a stage that, okay, we understand as an automation guy, we need to understand what are the changes that are planned within the enterprise sector. And if we don't understand and if we don't plan for those changes, then an automation program cannot be successful. And I can go on and on this, and I can really elaborate if you want me to. But But the crux of the matter is, governance is so key to a successful automation delivery. Okay.
Right. Governance, another key aspect.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm still with the joke that we have to deliver, right? With agile teams, right? So, Sophie, back to you. Can you? Sorry, focus. Sophie, can you share with us some of your coaching practices for building an automation culture that actually delivers value in a team and in an organization?
Yes, I'll try. So I think it's a little dissimilar because of the automation being physical. Then the opportunity to actually coach is really only in the data mining and process part, because once we get into design, then that's gone on offline from the rest of the team. And it also depends why I'm brought into a job. So if I've got my coaching hat on, then I think the things to bring are the explore and engage part, which is in the data mining phase, is getting the team really on board. Obviously going to the cold phase, that's a Lean Six Sigma thing, that you want to actually go and get your data from the shop floor, engage everybody on the shop floor, and engage them over a period of time as well, so they really open up to you, because they've normally got most of the answers themselves. When they are telling you something, is to really listen. So there's a guiding element as well, taking all of their stories in, sifting through those for the critical parts of the information, and collating that information, and then ensuring that you've collected all of the right data, and any data is robust. A big one I have to do a lot of is challenging misconceptions about automation. Mostly where I go, people think that if you're automating something, then necessarily headcount is going to get reduced. And that's not necessarily the case. So the way that I see it in my role is not to try and reduce headcount, but it's to make the people available to do the tasks that have more variation in and are more suited to humans. So I spend a lot of time on that, actually, because people don't get on board if they think that their job is going to get lost. Another element is championing, so making sure that everyone's on the same page, that they stay focused on the project goals, and so that's maintaining the focus throughout the project. And then when I call horizontal and vertical cohesion, so you want to make sure that the team remains cohesive, so that they're working together, but you also need to update upstairs, so the sponsors need to be kept up to date, so there's an element of the vertical communication as well. So that's a little bit different. The coaching hat is different than when I'm in solution design. In solution design, necessarily that's more prescriptive, but generally speaking, in the coaching role, I would say it's really about keeping the team together and heard. I hope that answers that question. Right,
absolutely. Thank you, Sophie. It really helps. And also looking at the time, let's pick up a question from the audience. We have one about security. What about security and automation? Sudip, maybe you would like to address that.
Yeah, sure. So security is, again, horses for courses. So it depends on the industry, and it depends on the overall need. I have had situations where every single release of the automation and the change needs to be pen tested, and therefore that's one level of security. You are also looking at, and we're going to talk about cloud in a bit, but if you're looking at all the automations being done in the cloud, you need to be able to secure that cloud really, really well, and not just that piece, but also I think as and when automation has increased and it's becoming more and more pervasive, edge security becomes more and more important. That's my view.
All right. Thank you very much. And now, Sophie, I would like to tackle with you another crucial topic. Could you please highlight the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in building a culture of automation and high performance coming from your role of coach?
Yeah, sure. So diversity to me, that includes, it's an array of differences. So it's not just gender, ethnicity, physical, mental capabilities. It's, for example, your disc profile. So for me, I'd enjoy a team that has got more variation in it because I get more perspectives. So if I think of every team member as a customer, and they've got something to bring and a different perspective to bring, then I would prefer that the team was diverse so that I get a better all-round view of potential solutions, inputs into potential solutions. So it's really how they each perceive the world to be, and that each view can bring something different to the project. So in summary, a great team comprises of a variety of different perspectives, and whether that's gender or ethnicity or whatever, that for me is better for a project.
Absolutely support that. And I would like to pass you the word. Alonso and Sudip, what's your take on that? Diversity, equity, and inclusion in building a culture of automation and high performance. Who would like to? Alonso.
Yeah, I agree with what Sophie said. I think that in the work area that I work, it's good and encouraging to have this diversity. When it comes to deliverables, I think it's good to plan the diversity in the team because it gets more dynamic. However, when it comes to deliverables, I don't like to box in people in terms of gender, or if they are tall or short, or their nationality. It's human beings that have sat in the same boat and needs to, as you were saying in the beginning, we need to deliver. So I try to kind of not have judge because of different aspects of gender, nationality. I like to see the human beings, and if you see the humans being and you respect them, you get a strong self-lead, or can build that culture in the team. So
right.
maybe it's a bit different angle and answer, but yeah.
That's your story. Sudip, go on.
Yeah, I'm going to take a slightly different angle. I mean, automation I've seen actually improves inclusion, primarily because you can do a lot of things with automation that probably technically you couldn't have been able to do so easily. For instance, you can change text to voice so easily. You can change the way something is displayed, so on. So it makes it easier. It makes it easier to do things for other people, which then leads to inclusion and diversity.
It's also an interesting perspective. Well, thank you very much. That's a topic close to my heart, so I'm happy to learn from you guys. And now, looking at the time, and I'm moving to our final topic of today: implementation of end-to-end, fully automated processes via continuous integration and continuous delivery. Thank you, Alonso, for bringing that, and also via cloud. Thank you, Sudip, for bringing that up. And Sudip, going on with you. Could you provide insights, please, into how you've coached teams to utilize this modern infrastructure and also cloud technologies in the context of intelligent automation and process mining?
So I think cloud came in much later as far as intelligent automation is concerned, and therefore there was an element of coaching teams who are already working on on-premise automation. And for them to understand what cloud is and how it's going to help these teams when they go to the cloud. the main barrier, I would say, there's no point in me trying to talk about the goodness of cloud and why cloud is good and so on. But the main barrier I have seen, especially for intelligent automation and implementing that, is that every bot still requires a virtual machine. It doesn't matter which bot you're using. It doesn't matter, which brand of bot you're using. When it comes to intelligent automation, every single bot needs a VM. And there is an element of coaching, and there's an element of really understanding how we optimize that requirement so that your cost of VMs and your cost of cloud comes down, specifically when you are implementing automation at scale. I've implemented automation where we have had 1,700 bots in a bank with as many automated processes running around the whole place. So that can very easily take your cost completely out of the control. So that is very, very important. We got to really understand how we optimize cloud. And that's where coaching comes into play, as to really understand what you need. You define the processes. And going back to exactly what Sophie said right in the beginning, process comes first. A bad process automated doesn't make it a better process. It is still bad process, and it is still automated, but it remains a bad process. So if you really want to continuously improve a process, first attack the process, understand the process, understand what is the SIPOC, and I generally I always start with the SIPOC, and then we use process mining, we use task mining to really understand. We understand where the bottlenecks are, and whether then you're going to use lean or theory of constraints or anything else. That's a matter of choice.
All right. And we have a very good question from Maria. Thank you for that, Maria. The question is, Sudip, what tools with artificial intelligence features can you recommend to support the business process automation? Are there any? You're on mute.
Yeah. So there are many tools at the moment now, and some of them are really well known, so there's no point, no harm in me naming them. You've got UiPath, you've got Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, and you've got others like NICE, whose RPA intelligent automation platforms are top of the world. If you look at the Everest metrics or Gartner reports, they are absolutely on the top. But however, I will come back to the fact that please do not go ahead, and this is what I've seen with a lot of customers. They have called me and got me on the team after they have gone ahead and bought an automation platform. It is, again, horses for courses. If you want to automate contact center processes, then you may want to buy a specific type of automation platform, which is really good in the contact center processes. However, if you want to automate document processing, where you've got large volumes of document coming in, even handwritten documents and unstructured data, that will require a different platform. So it is horses for courses. So focus on the process, understand the process, understand the need, and definitely you can connect with me on LinkedIn, get in touch with me. I'll help you with that.
Awesome. So here we have a very helpful guest speaker. Thank you, Sudip. Sophie, to wrap up this core topic, right? End-to-end, fully automated processes. Could you share with us examples from your experience of coaching related to automated process improvements, of course, with people involved, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think this is where my shade of automation is very different from DevOps. So we have the machinery, and we have, before the machinery, usually a manual process. And getting back to what Sudip was saying before, we want to make sure that process is optimized before it's built into the system, in terms of the operator has a scanner. So this is the scenario. You've got a conveyor, you've got some boxes going onto the conveyor. You've got people standing there with a scanner in their hand, scanning the barcode on the box. Okay, and then they scan the barcode on the box, introduce that into the system, and then put the box onto the conveyor. So the process improvement part would be understanding what the system needs to know, and how the operator interprets, for example, the screen that they're looking at, the actual tool itself. And so in that scenario, you've got the conveyor, you've got the person, you've got the process, you've got the MOI, the handheld scanner, and we don't really want to change very much of that very often. Okay, so in that scenario, then once you've done the design, then it's fixed. So the end-to-end part is from the people all the way through to the automation, but we don't want that to be very agile, because we don't want lots of changes, because we don't want to have to keep retraining people. So I think that is quite different from DevOps, unless I'm mistaken. Sudip, can you answer that?
No, I think you are spot on from your perspective. And then let's hear Alonso as well.
No, but I think it makes sense. It's what Sophie explains. It's a little bit different from the area I work with when it comes to DevOps, and it's as she's explaining in the beginning, that she works sometimes with more tangible things that you can see and touch.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I wanted to add on, Marion, is about feedback loops. So that's always the thing where once you've designed something and it's been installed, then we want to have designed a feedback loop so that the people who are actually experiencing failures after we've done version 1 have got a method by which they can actually report the faults, so that we can do the continuous improvement part thereafter. But there is a need for things to stay the same for a while after go live.
And this is, Sophie, where you talk about one of the ways of DevOps, right? The feedback loops, and also continuous improvement. So we see here clearly the roots of DevOps automation coming from its grandmother, Lean,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right, Sophie, we will have to move on. Sorry about that. We have 8 minutes left. I've learned a lot from you guys. As always, I'm taking notes and learning in parallel as I'm hosting here. It's been an awesome discussion around how to coach teams to unlock the power of automation, to accelerate, improve value delivery, and actually deliver Sulip, right? That was very, very strengthening, deep to my experience. Thank you for that, Sophie, Alonso, and Sudip. Happy to have heard more of your wisdom. And now I would like to invite you to our closing remarks, right? Alonso, back to you. What would be your top 3 takeaways from this talk for our audience?
Yeah, I think to wrap up a bit, it would go more into the coaching area, and that don't kind of stop people from growing, in the sense that people grow when they do mistakes. So I just would like to open up that part, that it's quite important if you really want dynamic groups that do self-lead. Another take I have is that we in our team, we work a lot with kind of encouraging leadership, you could say, which means that me as a product owner and our Scrum Master are not on the top of the hierarchy. We have turned that around. So we are supportive functions, you could say, for the team. And we have also, for the coaching and team, we keep encouraging people to take decisions if they have enough of information, so that we don't act as a blockers or routers, actually. So my encourage is more for the coaching perspective to don't talk about growing teams, grow teams.
Love it.
Yeah.
Strong message. Grow teams. Sudip, back to you. Can you
Yeah,
leave
sure.
us
I mean,
with your crucial message for our viewers? Go on.
my key takeaways, Marion, today, will be first one, governance. No intelligent automation program can be successful without proper and strong governance. Second one is, don't discount generative AI. It's going to change the way automation is going to work, and automation is going to be implemented. And thirdly, process first. It's not automation first. Do not automate junk. Sort the process out, and you may actually find that a lot of things need not be automated if the process is right. Okay, I can already see Sophie agreeing with me, so handing it over to Sophie.
Awesome, thank you. Heading over to you, Sophie.
Yeah, I fully agree with Sudip on the not automation junk thing. So my 3 takeaways are automation isn't always the answer. If you've got a highly volatile market or a process with a lot of variation in it, you don't want to automate that anyway. Make sure that your internal and external customers are fully consulted and that the processes are thoroughly mapped and optimized before you automate anything. So that's the same as Sudip's point. And also make sure you listen to your team, because they usually know where the waste is anyway, because they're complaining about it. So it's the people who are noisy who've actually mostly got a good insight into why the process isn't working. So listen to your team.
Thank you, Sophie. That goes very well with grow your team, right? To all of you guys, would you like to be contacted by our guest? Maybe back to you, Sophie, to be precise. How would you like to be contacted by our guests after this webinar?
So either on LinkedIn, or if you just Google search me, you'll find my details in one form or another. I'm particularly supportive of women in engineering and STEM subjects, so love to connect with some ladies.
Love it.
Thank you.
Sudip,
how
would you like to be contacted?
I'm very visible on LinkedIn. Anybody, please feel free to either connect with me or send me a message if you need, any help, any advice. Happy to be useful.
Thank you, Sudip. What about you, Alonso? Would you like to be contacted by our guests?
Yeah, that would be great. I look forward to it, and I think the best channel would be LinkedIn. And anything that kind of has to do with coaching, DevOps, automation, I'm happy to interact with the audience afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sophie, Alonso, and Sudip for these insights. To all our viewers, participants, listeners, I hope you found this episode of the Art and Science of DevOps Coaching valuable, inspiring. Don't forget, please, the link to the survey. You'll find it in the chat. Remember, whether you're a seasoned practitioner, a novice, an enthusiast in the DevOps, Agile, and automation space, there's always room to grow and learn. If you like this episode, if you like this format, don't forget to join us on December 14th, that's in a month, for Coaching for Customer Centricity, Innovate and Simplify with DevOps. On behalf of you guys and our team here at the Art of Science of DevOps Coaching, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to continuing our journey into the world of DevOps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marion. Thank you, Alonso.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
We wish you all a nice afternoon, evening, good night, maybe for some time zones, and see you next time.